Welcome to Unscripted Gaming. My name is Mike.
I'm Josh.
I'm Ray. You know what? We never know how to line this up when Mike does
Well, that's why I don't do the intro that often, guys. We're rocking the boat, and we don't want to rock the boat on episode, not the first one. So,
Correct.
But you know what?
He's
you
not
know what
wrong.
really switched things up this week?
Oh, God.
Oh, man.
Oh, wow. We're off to the ball game.
Oh my goodness.
That's the sound of me snapping my Joy-Con into my Nintendo Switch, which...
Can I just say that during that presentation, I hated every single Switch joke that they made.
I loved every single
I
one
loved
of
them.
Of course you loved them. I knew you would love them because they were all god
Well,
awful.
hey,
Yeah,
so
they were great.
let me lay
And that sound works for me, but that's beside the point. Mike, what are we talking about?
We're talking about the Nintendo Switch. As some people probably know, Nintendo did a big kind of, really first in-depth reveal of this thing end of last week, and they dumped a lot of details over the past couple of days, and we're gonna try and kind of dig in, suss into those, talk about things we really like, talk about things that we're a little less sure about, and talk about some things that we think are a little wonky. So, and whether or not that matters, and I guess ultimately like early projections of whether or not anybody will ever care about this thing, which I think is a dumb question actually. Now that I think about it, but hey, we're gonna dive in and.
So why don't we start off with what we now know about the Switch that we didn't know before?
Yeah. Let's
The
dive
price,
into some
it's
facts.
$299.99.
And if I recall, I'd have to go back and look. I think I said either $250 or $300 for the price.
You said $250.
Did I say
I said the $400 at the very lowest. Mike made noises and hooped and hollered.
I'm pretty sure I probably split it. I'm gonna say let's just agree that I got it right.
Why
don't we do that?
I'm okay with that. Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'd say for $300, realistically speaking, for all the we'll get to it in a moment, for all the tech inside of it, they are selling it at a loss. But then we also have to. We'll get to why and how they're selling it at a loss, and we can get to later on.
Do we know that they're?
That money
Do we know that do you have confirmation of that?
Of course, I don't have hardcore proof, but like the screen on a iPhone, for example, is capacitive, and the screen in and of itself is about $150.
Well, why don't we stick to like what we have confirmed here and go from there.
Okay.
Well, here
Fair enough.
I will say another thing
Hard
of why
facts.
they might be selling it at a loss is because the newest Shield tablet, which uses the very similar chipset that this is based off of, is selling for $200. So that granted, now that thing has a lot fewer bells and whistles, but that kind of gives you an idea of pricing of that chipset and that device, because that's mainly a streaming device. So maybe not. Maybe they're getting a really high profit off it. Who knows? But whatever.
I would.
That's.
We're going to facts. We're
Right.
jumping.
So
to
$300.
$300. Release date March 3rd, 2017.
Which is
Also, if you want to
very soon.
No, go ahead.
Very soon.
As of the time of this recording, which, by the way, happy birthday to Josh.
Oh yes, it's my birthday.
Yes,
today.
happy
Thank
birthday,
you.
Joshua.
It is. Happy birthday. As of the time of this recording,
My PB for
which is-
consecutive days alive.
Thank you for making another rotation around the sun successfully. Well done.
Did it.
Did it. If you want to pre-order one on today, which is January 15th, you're SOL. You can't pre-order one anywhere. Good luck. I wish you the best. Humble brag, I was able to pre-order one off of Amazon, and I chose Amazon because I might cancel at any time. They've released the Joy-Cons. They've released what the pack-in is going to be. It will include the actual Switch console itself, two Joy-Con controllers, both the left and right pad. They make a difference.
Grip for the Joy-Con.
The actual joypad grip, yeah. The one HDMI cable, one AC power adapter, and the dock.
Looks like you also get Joy-Con straps, which kind of like the wrist strap for the Wiimote, and add a little bit more to that controller.
Yeah, they add a little bit to because each Joy-Con can be used independently as like a little SNES style controller, and they have shoulder buttons. And I do believe that wrist strap add-on adds a little height to those buttons, so there's a little more feel to them. They're a little bigger on there, so that's something.
Oh man, I have a lot to say about those tiny ass controllers. Anyways, moving on forward. As for the actual, we'll cover one more fact. The 4 release games, which man, did they bury the lead on what those were going to be? There's only going to be 4, and the release games day 1 is 1-2 Switch.
Which I think looks like a real fun game.
Not for $50. Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which is the one everyone's going to get, and I should probably pre-order that as well. Skylanders Imaginators, it's good to have a hobby. And Just Dance 2017, which no one will buy. I think more people will buy 1-2 Switch than Just Dance 2017. What do I know?
I think the Just Dance series is pretty popular, so...
Did we mention that this thing is region free? Which is kind of interesting.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's kind of
huge.
That I honestly would not have. I wouldn't have guessed that. Like, that's kind of crazy.
With all of the issues that Nintendo have been having with their consoles and security as of late, to come out and say, "Hey, we're doing region free," kind of surprised me.
Yeah,
a bit.
definitely. Like, with how people have basically just like completely blown open the 3DS, it is a little interesting to see them kind of go into that. And then I think other kind of bit, I mean, this probably might be a good discussion launching point, but other than things like the Joy-Cons have a camera, they've got HD Rumble, which apparently is reportedly, some people are saying it's pretty cool. It does also have a online service. It's going to be like a paid online service. It's on a free trial until fall of there's a free it'll start being paid in fall 2017,
which I think that's pretty neat to say, like, hey, let's get everybody on and show them why they should pay for this. Let's give everybody a chance, the early adopters, to see what it's like, and then they can make that decision of whether or not they want to pay for it. I think that's really good, but we can talk about that more in a bit. But
I definitely agree, because I mean, kind of going through. I mean, we don't. And this is going to be an interesting kind of, I think, a good launching point for some. I guess some of the things that kind of like, for me, generally, it's like every one thing I hear that I'm like, oh, okay, this seems kind of cool, has another thing that's like, ooh.
Hold on. I want to cover the cost of their launching their online service. I'm sorry, I can't speak today. It is $5 per month. There you go, and it allows you to do online gameplay, multiplayer, online lobby, but voice chat has to be done through a specific app that won't allow you to chat in the lobby. I guess that's to prevent people from being a-holes in the chat. I don't know. You get 1 free monthly game download, but after that month, the game deletes itself from your system profile. Oh, we could talk about that later. And you get some exclusive deals. I don't know what that means. Maybe that means discounts. I don't know.
Yeah, so it's that. I'm glad. I think it's really good that they're doing that kind of, as it's a pretty goodwill move to like offer that service for free, because on the surface, I mean, I was never a big like Splatoon guy. Like I haven't really played it, and I don't do a lot of online with Mario Kart. I mean, there's no real like multiplayer in Mario Maker, so I presume that you wouldn't have any change in features there if you weren't like a
they'll charge
Switch
you.
Pro. I mean, that would ruin that game if you had to pay for online service.
Oh, they would charge. I
don't
guarantee
think
you.
It's not PvP, so it wouldn't, and that would not make sense to me. And I think it would be ludicrous.
Yeah, that's
money.
just pulling down data from a server. That's not back and forth player information that has to go real time. Like, I feel like that your makers games, that franchises, they make another Mario and blow that out eventually. I don't think they'll be included in that.
Yeah. So
here's hoping.
so that's the thing. It's like, I mean, to not even to get SNES and NES games and then not have them just be like permanently added to your library.
Wait, before we get into speculation, there's still more hard facts we want to get over. Don't worry. There'll be plenty of time for speculation. Let's just get all the facts out of the way. The interior of the console will have it has a 720p screen. It has memory built into the console, not a hard drive. It's actually just memory. It is 32 gigs. That's what I was telling you about earlier, Mike. We could talk about the cost of accessories later. That's not important. And the battery life, that's also important, is, their words, not mine, 2.5 hours to 6 hours, depending on the game.
Which sounds reasonable.
And the carts that come onto it can't have a maximum capacity that they've announced at 25 gigabytes. Like the game carts that they have. They're not cartridges, I guess. I guess that's a bonus. So, that all said, now let the speculation talk begin.
Real quick, one other thing, that the Switch will support a memory card, an SDXC memory card of up to 2 terabytes. So
yes, it will.
Now, granted, that's a theoretical cap, but it will support at some point a 2 terabyte SD card. So that is something too. That it has upgradable and expandable memory, and it in a way that makes it portable that you can take with you. So that's good.
Sure.
Because you can't really put a hard drive in that thing because
Buh.
it's a portable.
Yeah. How should we start speculation? How about we start with that? Mike was getting into it, online features. Mike, you had a thought about the games.
Well, I was saying with the online stuff, like, I'm glad they're kind of giving it a free trial. I mean, especially because because with the SNES and NES titles being removed from your library after a month, like, people love to whine about PlayStation Plus. I love to chastise them for it because it's a cool way to try neat stuff. But I mean, like, I often don't have a lot of time to really like check those out until like a couple months later. And I'm like, oh, what's this? I kind of forgot I had this. So to have just like, oh, look, here's like an old NES game, and then it's just gone the next month. It's just like, giving it to you, well, giving you like a NES game and then taking it away. It's almost just like, maybe you just shouldn't do it. Like, I'd almost rather if you just didn't do it. If that's how it's going to go.
Like, that is such a fuck you consumer move. Like, PS4, I bitch about the PS Plus service, and I canceled it a while ago. But I have to admit, if I wanted to reactivate it, all the games that I had downloaded, they're mine. I can get them again. I can get Fury, I can get Journey, I can get all those indie games I played and didn't
Fury's
play.
really good. You should play that game. That game's sweet.
I should play that game. See, that's the thing. If I activated my PlayStation Plus subscription again, I can because I downloaded it. But and also, let's just talk about, like, they're giving you an old NES or an old SNES game. They're like, here it is. Here's your rental for the month. Now it's gone. Here's your new rental. Wait a minute. What about that old game? What if I was really enjoying, I don't know, Star Fox? I'm like, oh, okay. You can enjoy it again. Just buy it for $8. Yeah. Do you want me to pay $8 US dollars for a 20 goddamn year old game?
Tell us how you really feel. Yeah, it definitely, that was something that just kind of rubbed me that was just like, I kind of scrunched a little bit about that. I think that there's definitely a potential to, like, I think that there's some cool stuff they could do with that. I mean, if you're getting things like Super Mario World, like Link to the Past, and I don't know.
When you first told me, Mike, I thought that was really awesome, even if it's not necessarily like a game that I'm super interested in. Mm-hmm. There's tons of NES and SNES games that I would still love to give a chance, and if that was suddenly just in my library and be like, okay, I just finished Breath of the Wild, I'm feeling like sitting on my TV and playing something, like I could play a retro game right now, but to not have, then when you said that that was only going to be for that month, it's like, ooh, that's not good.
Like, I mean, it's just, I mean, yeah. It's a less, how to say this. It's just objectively less consumer friendly. It's very strong wording, but it's less consumer friendly than services like this that exist for other console makers.
Obviously,
it is
it's
the
well
worst
within their right
online
to do,
console
but it
deal.
sucks.
It is the worst online console deal of all the major console
Yeah.
makers
So
right now as it stands.
I mean, because when I saw that, I was just like, I mean, I've never really engaged in I haven't really engaged in online play in my previous Nintendo consoles. I played some online Smash Bros on my 3DS, but that was pretty much it. So it's if I don't pay for that service, it's fine. But that's kind of why I'm interested to see about what this giving the free trial. They're doing away with things like friend codes once and for all, so maybe that they'll figure out some of that stuff. But then for everything that I do like that, then it's hey, do voice chat through your phone on an app that's separate from the console.
Yeah.
It's that's...
and you have to pay for that. They're making you pay for that. God,
wait, the app's gonna be because that's right, because the app is a trial version, and then so that's kind of how I feel with every other thing on the Switch. Is some of this stuff sounds pretty cool. I think that's a pretty clever solution, but then it's just maybe I don't need to voice chat on my Switch. Not that I was really dying to anyway, but it's just oh boy. I don't know about that. What do you think, Josh?
Yeah, it's from the position of Nintendo wanting to try and do something to still be friendly to younger players, which they do tend to. While this is they're trying to shed that image, they still have to think about this is a console that a lot of parents are going to be buying for their kids and trying to find a solution to that problem. Because don't get voice chat on pretty much everything is terrible. It's toxic. It's awful. It's not a place for kids. I would not let my daughter, when she becomes old enough to play games, be in voice chat when she played online, because she doesn't do that kind of nonsense. But so I can see the thought process that led to that, because they have to specifically seek it out, and generally speaking, it's going to be somebody older with a phone with a credit card that they have access to the App Store to be able to buy that, to do that. So you have to put in that effort to be part of that part of the community. Mm-hmm. So you're really making the choice yes, I want to be a part of this. I know what I'm getting into. That being said, to still have it broken out like that, and to have another device while you're playing just seems complicated. And especially I'm thinking of a scenario in which maybe you're gaming on the go and you want to have your headphones in to listen to the you're not in a public place, but you're still somewhere out there, and you want to have your headphones in so you're hearing the game a little better, but you also want to chat with your friends. You can't do both, because you can't have your headphones and have your headphones for your phone.
Yeah,
it just creates a kind of awkward.
It's a clusterfuck.
Yeah,
it's such a super clusterfuck. The issue with toxic voice chats has been solved long ago. Allow only voice chat to people in your friends list. Many gaming companies have figured this out, and it works fine. So to sit there and I'm assuming from Nintendo's perspective, just saying, oh yeah, we're just gonna nuke that whole thing from orbit and just make it super inconvenient to get on it. That's awful.
Kind of think to play devil's advocate here, it does kind of. If this the thing in thinking about a lot of this stuff with the Switch, I have to remember that this is something you can pick up and take somewhere else, because that's the whole. That's the whole thing about it. And a lot of times
not with that 2.5 hour battery life. That thing's just going to stay in my home.
Well, now. If that's something that's variable from title. But yeah, if you're going to be playing some Zelda on the road, you're going to have to deal with that. But you do with the USB-C, you can have expandable battery packs or separate charging things are an option if you want to, if you're doing the cross country flight thing. But what I was going to say is that if it's something you're taking on the go, then it's you have that. I guess your phone is an easy way to do, kind of having that built in through the phone is an easy way to do portable voice chat, which is I guess kind of makes like I guess that's kind of what they were thinking because like you'll always have your phone with
just
you.
Sounds gross.
Yeah, it's just.
Oh, it sounds so gross.
Though. At the end of the day, more often than not, I'm probably not going to do voice chat on my Switch anyway, even if it was built in.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I have voice chat, like, say, through... We were just playing a round of Overwatch. If I have the option of voice chat through the Blizzard client, I have that option if I want to play some ranked battles, and I like having that option, and I've used it.
I absolutely do not. I've never talked to anybody in a public match.
I mean, that's fine for you.
I haven't talked to a pub.
You know, there are other people that like to use it.
In SOCOM and my trolling days during Call of Duty, so...
At least you admit that you were one of the trolls.
Oh, yeah.
To switch gears, since we've talked about voice chat for like 15 minutes, I wanted to talk about what the hell was Nintendo thinking with 32 gigs of memory built into the console. That the game I just beat, Final Fantasy 15, is 50 gigs. 51, I'm sorry. 51 gigs.
But you're not downloading those games to your Switch, so it's not really important. The only games you're going to put on there are like Virtual Console games. Plus...
Oh, I'm sorry. Wait, I'm sorry. Can you back up? I remember a podcast a year or two ago where Mr. Josh was saying, hey, we should all prepare for the digital market because we're all going to be downloading games anyways.
That's why you can buy like 2 terabyte SD cards for like 50.
Do you know how much a 2 terabyte SD card costs?
SD memory is like super cheap.
Look it up. Look it up right now.
It costs nothing technically because of
$300. Well, for a 2 terabyte, for like a 1 terabyte.
Real quick, first time out, Ray. We will have a different discussion about the digital future because that conversation has changed a little bit with the proliferation of data caps over the last like 4 to 6 months. Which
oh yeah,
fuck Comcast in their fucking faces, but that's beside the point. I mean, I think though.
I mean, we're just buying our games physical now. I thought the whole conversation of is online media going to overtake physical media pretty much died when Konami pulled PT from PS4, and now you can't get it if you wanted it. And I'm like, all right, I'll just get it physical from now on because that fucking sucks.
I mean, eventually we will get to the all-digital future. It's just going to take a little longer than we were planning, but that's not really what we're talking about. I really don't have... I mean, yes, I would have liked them to have more storage in there, but, like, I'm looking at stuff. I have a 64 gigabyte and a 32 gigabyte and a 16 gigabyte SD card just lying around my house. Like, I just have those things lying around. Like, those are so... easy and inexpensive. Like, it's really not that big of a deal to me.
I may have overestimated on
down,
the obviously 2 terabyte SD card. It would be a little expensive, but a $128 or a 128 gigabyte SD card is like $40. And you're not installing games on here unless you are doing digital.
Mm-hmm.
And they do have that limit on the size anyway.
The Virtual Console games are a couple hundred megs. They're not huge.
I'm just saying for all the other consoles, which are at this point offering a terabyte in the box for, in this case...
But you don't need that. You do not need a terabyte for the Switch.
Why not?
Why would you? You're not going to...
Because games get updated, and that takes up space.
But they don't take... up the same amount of space as games on those other platforms, because
why not? So why wouldn't they? If we'll pretend Nintendo has a ton of third-party support. The day one patch for Final Fantasy 15. I keep going back to that because it's a relatively large game.
It's also,
it was a multi-platform
it's also
release.
disgusting that patch is that fucking big. First off,
it was a 9.5 gig patch. How much of that memory card does that eat, or that memory inside the unit does that eat? That is massive, and you know what? This is not just out of the norm. There are games with like 2 gig, 1 gig, 4 gig day one patches.
You also have to think. I don't know if this is true, and I would want to verify this, but the fact that they're using cards, game cards, I'm betting you some of that data is writable to the card, so it doesn't have to be on the system memory. They will patch the card and not the memory on the console.
I mean, that's not how cards normally work, but you might be right. I don't know.
I mean, if
honestly don't
it's
know.
any sort of memory like an SD card or anything like that, I mean, they could set up a system where they could write updates to the card.
I also wanted to talk about the Joy-Con controllers because we can go back and forth on the memory. I just think the memory at this day and age, 32 gigs, is just laughable. That is, my phone standard came with more than that. But anyways,
Yeah, and how long did it take for them to get there? Be like, oh, maybe we should offer 32 gigs, even when they absolutely should not have. Well, not.
The Wii U had 32 gigs, and that was the expensive unit. That was the 350 SKU.
And
People overcharge for memory, but that's another. Again, that's a different conversation. But the Joy-Cons,
the Joy-Con controllers that they, I like that they include the shoulder buttons. I answered that question I had before, but they look. I don't know. Now that I actually saw them at that presentation, they look uncomfortably small to me. That's the only thing I can say about them. Oh, well, we could talk about their cost.
they look about the size of a Game Boy Micro, and Ray, and we might have this conversation at a couple different points too. I found some pictures of size comparisons of different Nintendo stuff. I'm going to send that to you so you may be able to clip some of those in. But yeah, those Joy-Cons look pretty much the same size as a Game Boy Micro.
I mean,
which I think,
I never got them.
I feel like in the base, and maybe even combined together, like I don't feel like there's going to be too much of a problem. It's if you are in that edge case where you're using one of the Joy-Cons on its own, where it may be a little small.
It looks like it would feel like really small in the hand, just like one of them unplugged by itself. Also, the Joy-Cons are freaking expensive. Holy shit! The cost of one Joy-Con controller is, what was that? $50? Yeah, $50 for a left or right side, and if you want to buy a combo of both, it's $80, and that's not including the charging grip. That's another $30. So it's freaking, if you want a complete controller, it's $110. Holy shit! This is where they're making up the money for the possible cost of the system. I will say though that the Joy Grip, once it's all plugged in, and you have both Joy-Cons and it's in the grip, that does look like a somewhat comfortable controller. But
it reminds me of the Wavebird a little bit, the way it looks. But
yeah, it does.
What's also? I'm not trying to go full negative. I'm trying to get all the negative out of the way so we can get to some positive. But the Switch Pro controller, $70. Why?
They've definitely made some very interesting pricing choices when it comes to their peripherals and the extras that you need to buy if you want to have the Pro controller. If you are going to have, you want to have multiple
spare
controllers
Joy-Cons,
like around the house, like
for. At least
the dock is $90, and the dock, it's not even a power station. All it is it's just you turn it into a power station with an AC cable, but it's a dock and it has an HDMI connection, and it doesn't give any additional computational power. Yeah, for $90 fucking goddamn dollars.
I had this. Mike and I were actually in the same place today, and we had a very conversation about the fact that they're selling extra docks, but really they should, in my opinion, they shouldn't be selling extra docks. They should sell extra tablets. You should be able to buy a SKU with just the tablet.
Oh, they're not going to do that.
I'm not saying that they're going to. I'm saying that there should, because if you think about the way people use consoles and the way they're going to be using this in the traveling case and whatnot, it makes more sense to have one or two tablets than it does to have more bases. But
or honestly, just as a cheaper option to to have it served primarily as like your 3DS replacement.
You're like, hey, I'm not going to plug this thing in, or if I do, I will go out and buy that thing on my own. Just give me the Switch and the Joy-Cons.
Like, I wouldn't be. I I don't know if I'd be surprised if that was a SKU that they introduced, in the way down the road with this thing. But yeah, it is definitely like with all the peripherals, it is a little kind of sticker shock with seeing that. Then you see some of the, at least with some of the games that we've seen, like 1-2 Switch and ARMS. We haven't seen a lot. We don't know what the full extent of those games are, but it looks like they're
those controllers.
Exactly. It looks like they're charging $15-$60 for games that were like packed in with the Wii, and that's kind of it's a tough pill to swallow. At least on the other hand, like reportedly, some of that stuff in 1-2 Switch looked pretty fun, and I hear that a lot of people are saying that they really enjoyed, like, the controllers feel good. They're small, but the construction is good. So it's.
Oh, you guys want to talk about some of the games? Because there's more positivity to be found. There's unfortunately negativity to be found in the games, but there's a lot of positivity to be found. Breath of the Wild looks cool. Still looks cool.
I still haven't seen that trailer. I probably won't. I'm pretty hyped.
It has voice acting in it.
I don't think it.
The voice acting, from what I heard, sounded good. All right, shut up.
I don't need voice acting in my Nintendo game. In my Zelda game.
You got your voice acting in my Zelda. You got your Zelda in my voice acting.
It's not like games can't have can't have good voice acting. Like, just because Nintendo really screwed the pooch with Other M. I'm looking at your goddamn face right now. I'm not going to say Other M was a well voice acted game. It was awful. Absolutely awful.
Garbage.
But dumpster fire, absolutely. But that doesn't mean that, however many, what's been 6 years. 6 years later, they're going to do the same thing and just fuck it out.
Call me old fashioned, but all I think Link should do is.
Actually, you know what? Link did in any of the trailer. Link did not talk. It was only all the other characters.
Okay. I'm more okay with that. I don't think Link should talk ever unless he's going. Aah! Everybody else.
Zelda talked, the Gorons talked, the Zoras talked, the King of Hyrule talked, but Link didn't say anything. So I think we're still in the clear there.
I think in regards to voice acting in my Zelda, for me, I think Wind Waker,
time.
or I think not Wind Waker. It's the Great Zelda, but beside the point, I think I've really enjoyed when Zelda has done things that seem atypical. And seem like, why would they do this? This isn't my Zelda. This is different. I don't know if I want this. I feel like I've been pretty happy with how those things have turned out in the past, except for I bounced off of Majora's Mask pretty hard. I just don't understand that game. I need to try it again someday.
Really? Interesting.
But I'm all for it. I'm all up for trying, making it, doing a little bit more to get some. Doing things like voice acting. And I think that there's only a couple snippets in the trailer, but I think that the direction, with the kind of story hints that you get, just from a couple lines, I think they're embracing, I guess, the quote lore, unquote, that they haven't really done so directly before. And I think that stuff really interests me. And then the gameplay itself looks pretty cool. It's almost like a Phantom Pain kind of Zelda game. It's there's survival elements, and it's more open, a lot more free combat, and
I'm cool with it. It looks good.
I think
it's going to be my day one purchase because there's nothing else to buy. I'm not going to buy 1-2 Switch for $50 fucking US. What the hell is their problem? That should have been a pack-in game if I ever saw one. Or Skylanders, Imaginators, or just that. Can you imagine? There are probably some people that are going to buy the Switch on launch day, and they're like, what's your game going to be? Let me get your copy of Zelda. No, give me Just Dance 2017.
Hey, you know
what?
That's what you want to do, though. That's what you want to do. That's.
I suppose I'm not knocking them, but I'm totally kind of knocking them.
It's exactly what you're doing.
It's kind of what I'm doing. I am more eager for
don't judge somebody's choice of entertainment. If that's what they want,
appreciate.
Hey, go for it.
But yeah,
there are other games coming out.
I think I think we're going to hear a little bit more news about what's going to be in launch day, what's going to be coming out in the months prior or the months following. We've got things like a
Oh, Super Bomberman R is a launch game. I forgot about that.
Yeah, so there's things like that. There's I think there's a couple other just kind of as far as console launches go, like it's launches are it always takes time to build up a library. It doesn't have I think like the killer. It's not exactly a murderer's row immediately at launch right now, but I mean it's a hell of a lot better than like Knack and Killzone.
The PS4 actually had a healthy launch window. Not like the day one, but like the entire window of the first 3 to 4 months. It was pretty solid. I actually went back and looked that up. And something else that helped it out was it had a lot of indie titles like Spurt distributed in there. I didn't see any indie titles for the Switch.
I mean, there's definitely things like
they haven't worked with that yet.
I mean, there's definitely smaller like kind of digital games like Snipper Clips that Nintendo's doing.
Yeah.
I mean, things like Puyo Puyo Tetris coming over. So there's definitely, I think we're going to see some more of that. And I think that a lot of those kind of titles are things we're going to learn more about coming in as we get closer to launch. But, if we're talking like launch window, so...
Yeah, if we're talking
that
launch
puts
window,
us into like at least June. I mean, you've got the Mario Kart 8. You've got the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, like they're kind of fixing the battle mode and adding some new stuff to Mario Kart 8, which is awesome because Mario Kart 8 is great. And then we've got the new Mario comes out, or Super Mario Odyssey, which is, I guess,
the game looks great.
Yo, we're about to get up in New Donk City here, folks. It's about to get real.
Yeah, I'm very interested.
That game looks great.
In that game. That looks pretty.
I'm gonna day one purchase that.
Pretty good.
Excited.
And while I never played Splatoon, I was always interested in the idea, and Splatoon 2 looks good. That's a date game. I could definitely see myself, if and when I make the purchase of a Switch, grabbing up. I think that a fun take on the first-person shooter.
And that is summer of 2017, so...
Yeah, so not too far.
Kind of interesting that Super Mario Odyssey is coming out all the way in freaking Christmas. I was kind of hoping and wishing... I think we talked about this like back in June. I was hoping and wishing that Super Mario... When we first saw that shot of a Super Mario game during the... at the time, the Switch reveal, that 3-minute reveal video... I was hoping that would be the launch game for the Switch, along with Zelda. Can you imagine, having a Mario and Zelda game at launch of a new Nintendo console?
Yeah, but they're gonna spread those fuckers out. Like, let's be honest.
I mean, I guess. I mean, why? It's not like
because more consumers out there than not have to make a decision of one game at a time and spread those out after a while, and having two big games like that puts too much of a decision on people and will eat into each other's lunch and hurt sales in the long run. So I think they spread them out because that's better for their typical consumer.
Well, hold on a sec. The problem I have with your statement, because I do agree with you to an extent, is that I'm looking at the launch window for the games, and there is about 8 months between the Zelda game and the Mario game. That's a long amount of time, my man, and there's not there's a little bit sparsed in between there, but there's a lot of space in between there if you wanted to make Switch your like main console. So it would just take a bit of time. If they launch with both, because not everyone likes Zelda and not everyone likes Mario, if they launch with both, that would probably Venn diagram it into more people, if that makes sense.
I did not know this, but I think it was during the presentation, but I didn't see it. I didn't realize that a No More Heroes follow-up had been announced for Switch.
Yes, Suda51 came on to the stage and said Travis Touchdown is coming out, and he showed a concept art picture. It says, "We're working on it. We have nothing else to tell you." And then he did a little fist pump and walked off the stage.
Cool.
And it was really weird.
I'm pretty into that.
I mean,
I was a big fan of No More Heroes, so I would love to.
Both of them.
I get more No More Heroes, then I'm up for that.
I think No More Heroes 1 and 2 were some of the best games on the Wii.
Oh, definitely. Like, I think that there's definitely... I think... it's kind of like with all console launches as far as, like, the library. It's going to take some time to build up, and I don't think Nintendo did a lot to fix their kind of, lack of traditional third-party issues or support, but I do also think that with how I think kind of Nintendo's whole game with this thing is definitely I feel like they kind of strategically targeted at people who I guess not specifically targeted, but people who probably, most people who are going to be buying this probably already have a PS4 and or Xbox and or PC that they have. Like
I think that's so unfair to assume that, though.
I mean, why? They have been out for several years and have sold like gangbusters. Like,
well, I mean, like, take the average Nintendo fan who just got the Wii U, and they're like, okay, I'm a hardcore Nintendo guy. I only have enough money to buy one console every so often, so I'm only buying Nintendo ones because they like.
Then
their
they weren't in a
products
market for a PS4 or Xbox 3 one, so it doesn't matter.
Well, that's why I'm saying to Mike, like, I don't think that's a fair comparison.
But
like, you shouldn't assume someone just has both.
Well, we're not assuming somebody has both. We're not. We're both going against your claim that, and you haven't really said it this time, but you've talked about the whole power proposition and like this is a head-to-head competitor with the Xbox and the PS4. Which, if this was coming out in the same launch window, I would say yes, you are right. But since it's coming out so much further, like, a lot of the people who are going to buy this are either not interested in those other two platforms or have already made a decision on one or the other or both of those things. Like, you're not having anybody who has waited this entire time to see what the Switch was going to be before they made their decision on buying an Xbox or a PS4. Or if there's somebody who's done that, they're a very niche case. This is not a head-to-head market or consumer that they're looking for.
I think definitely there's obviously going to be a head-to-head when someone's literally in the store and seeing I can get a PS4 Slim for $50 cheaper than a Switch. So there is going to be a head-to-head there. But, you do also look at, I'm kind of pulling up sales figures right now, life to date.
You have to point that out. You can get it for $50 cheaper. Well, not 50, but like $30 cheaper, and it'll have a game with it.
It's also still a 3-year-old console at the end of the day.
Yeah, and more
powerful
by
than
the time
the Switch, offers more features.
It's still older.
But that's kind of it kind of cuts both ways because there's a raw like price, dollar value kind of discussion to have, but then you also have to look at like, okay, if life to date PS4 sales passed about 40 million in January last year. Microsoft hit, let's see here, or the Xbox One hit 20 million, at least 20 million back in right, yeah. March of 2016. So a lot of people already have these consoles, and I think.
Guess how many people have the Wii U?
That I wasn't going there. I don't know how I can look that up, but I was just.
It's like 2.8 million.
But what I was gonna say is that I think that there's a good amount of those people who, maybe, who didn't buy a Wii U because they, weren't really, maybe just like a marketing thing is it just a tablet add-on? Like, I don't know. We don't know. Or just, clearly a lot of those people didn't buy a Wii U.
Yeah. Because this is a console to bring the Nintendo crowd who did not make the switch to the Wii U back to the Nintendo fold.
And I think for a lot of those people who, I think that there's a good amount, if combined of those people who own PS4s and Xboxes, since they already have a device that's going to handle like their power gaming, play the smattering of games you would get on a PS4, Xbox, or PC. They don't. I think for one thing, they don't mind that consumer wouldn't mind a more specific selection of games, since they probably, for most titles, they probably already have a way to play it. And honestly, looking at the specs of it, probably a better way to play it, especially if they're not really planning on taking that thing on the go. So I do think, there's definitely potential for the Switch to hit kind of to really, really take over that kind of complementary market. I mean, obviously it's the 3DS. I mean, it had a big price drop before it really took off. Things like the 2DS, which was like a really great budget entry. But I mean, you just look at while the Wii U was not exactly doing well. Let me see here. Let me see if I can't. Yeah, as of, I guess this looks like it was, this is pretty current. Nintendo has sold 61.57 million 3DSs. So there's definitely people who are, who probably have some of those other consoles. I mean, this is kind of a long-winded point, but
are you comparing a home? Are you comparing a home console to a portable one?
I mean, well, that's kind of what this thing is. It is kind of a portable console. So it's.
I don't know if this thing is 100% like their 3DS replacement. I'm not feeling that.
Do you think that there's going to be a DS follow-up in a couple years?
Here's what's going to happen.
I would say so. Yeah.
Here's what's going to happen, because if you're listening to reports and people on the street, it's really hard to find a 3DS right now. And it really sounds like Nintendo has sold through their stock and they're really not releasing anything else. They're holding back to see how the Switch does initially. If it does well, they will say, we're going to be discontinuing the 3DS line, maybe talking about a follow-up, but probably saying, everybody's on the Switch now. Your mobile games will be now, able to be played at home on your TV, yada yada. This is our console. Switch does poorly. All of a sudden, you have a new flood of 3DSs back into the market. They ramp up production again, and then in a few years, you hear about their new follow-up or something. But I think they're playing that. Let's wait and see. We've sold through most of our stock. Let's see if we really need more, or if we can kind of just call it a day.
You are correct. Over the holidays, Nintendo did have a massive sale on 3DSs. They sold them for $100 each for a 3DS XL.
That's awesome.
Which, if you didn't have one at their time,
man, I didn't realize that was going on, and I'm really kicking myself for not picking
3DS is. The 3DS is awesome. It's
a great system.
There's so many good games.
I play mine. So. Absolutely, but right now I'm on Amazon, and if you want a 3DS new, you're looking at $350 minimum, and that's the cheap, and that's just not even fair.
That's my own personal theory about the 3DS and the 3DS shortage right now. I really think they're going to kind of hold back. They got a shit ton of them out there for Pokemon Sun and Moon. They've got a lot of titles out there, and they're just waiting to see how the Switch does to say either, oh, all of a sudden we ramped production back up and here they're back on the market, or that's the end, folks. Buy a Switch.
I mean, I would not, as a consumer, I would not view the Switch as a 3DS replacement, especially
Why not?
any sort of game I want to play with it. A 2.5 hour battery life is abysmal. Yes, I know they said up to 6. They're probably talking like Tetris. Let's be honest.
That's pretty clear.
If the games that you're talking about, that you're saying like my 3DS games, then those are games that are probably not going to be as intensive on the CPU and GPU. So you're going to get the best battery life out of the games that you would think would be the 3DS style games.
Prove to me it has 3DS style games on the Switch, and I will believe that. But until then, everyone else is treating this like a home console.
people who make games for 3DS are gonna migrate over. Like that's.
I mean, this is no. I believe you. I do, and I hear what you're saying, but I'm not gonna like be selling my 3DS anytime soon.
No, and I'm not saying you should, but I'm saying at some point those developers, if they sell well enough, those developers are gonna move over, and you're gonna see more of those games on that platform.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. Also, I would be very, very cautious of taking like the Switch with me anywhere, because that is one expensive piece of hardware to just be lugging around like it's a
but so's a 3DS.
like it's a tablet. Yeah, 3DS is like $170.
And this thing, looking size wise, it's kind of comparable to like an like a tablet. That's for me like thinking about this thing as like thinking about this thing as like a tablet that I can hook up to a TV. I guess it kind of helps me make a lot of things about it make more sense than a home than like a console I can carry with me. Which I mean that sounds strange, but like I guess like what I've seen so far of the Switch, I mean, with all the kind of ups and downs, with like it has a really cool library. I mean, like once this thing really gets cooking, but I mean, you have things like the kind of strange online service, the expensive peripherals, and add-ons and stuff like that. But for me, I'm still kind of like, I'm still pretty interested in this. I'm pretty interested in this. I don't know if I'm gonna. I mean, I probably all the pre-orders are pretty much cooked at this point, so you know, I'll have to sit kind of wait and see on it. But I really,
would you pre-order it? GameStop or online?
Oh, I haven't pre-ordered.
Okay.
But I feel like honestly, like for me, like my kind of thoughts on this are, you know, if you're really, you know, if you don't really see yourself ever taking this thing off the dock, and I mean, even if you're a big fan of like Nintendo titles, you probably are just, yeah, I mean, I don't know, I just feel like you wouldn't get it wouldn't exactly be or what you're looking for, or especially if you know you don't have any sort of, you know, modern game like current game console, like your laptop's too old, you still have like a 360. I probably wouldn't recommend a Switch to you, honestly. I mean, unless you were like you had to have Nintendo stuff, like I mean that the PS4 Slim and like the current like the Xbox One S, like just the pure value proposition there. If you're looking for like a core gaming thing, is I mean it's too good. But I think as a piece of like kind of supplementary, as a supplementary console, and I think
your Mario
machine, and you know that's if they've got the first party titles to, you know, that's why I'm okay with it not having the most like epic library in history, is because like as someone who has a lot of ways to access a lot of like core gaming titles, I don't need that stuff on my Switch. Like, I mean, it'd be cool, but
I mean, you're okay with them not having the most epic library, but should Nintendo, who continuously keeps missing the mark sales-wise, I mean, this is a publicly traded company. Are there investors going to be okay with that?
I wouldn't say keep missing the mark. They missed the mark one time. This is like, I think, you know, they had a blunder with the Wii U, but that was a follow-up to one of the most successful selling consoles of all time. So,
no, kind of.
I mean, I think it's second only to the PlayStation 2.
Yeah, the PlayStation 2 is the most successful one.
But
you know, I knew what you meant.
I mean, this is going to be the best place to play all of Nintendo's games. It's going to be the best place to play both of their home-focused and their mobile-friendly, on-the-go focused games.
You don't have to sell me. I already pre-ordered.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, I can foresee a future in which this is the home console that I have. I'm thinking like I will probably buy a Switch. I won't buy it day one, but like next year or so, especially as the baby Metroid starts to get a little older, you know, a little more sentient and you know whatnot, I can see this being the console that we use to play games, and especially with such an extensive
We-
virtual console library, being able to...
Wii U's.
What?
Wii U's? How many do you have?
We use?
What about it?
I didn't know you had Wii U's. Oh,
think-
Wii U's. WEYOU. Oh, what USE? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm getting a face. Oh boy.
God damn it.
But yeah, I guess kind of. I didn't mean to cut you off. I thought it was a dumb joke. I guess kind of in summary, that's kind of where I'm definitely interested in like Zelda and stuff. But I think, like for me, if it is, if you're okay with. I mean, it will really have to see how the library kind of fills out. But if you're looking, I think it's kind. I think this is a better. I think this thing is definitely a. I think this is. I guess totally. I think the feature set of this console, I think, is a little more interesting and exciting than like the Wii U what the Wii U ultimately ended up being. So.
They're definitely marketing it way better than they ever did with Wii U. Because the only reason I bought a Wii U was for Smash, and it still just sits in my living room as my Smash Brothers machine. I mean, I played Oh yeah, we didn't mention like any of the other like big games. You saw a new a game from Square Enix.
That game looks really interesting.
Yeah. New Xenoblade 2. I'm interested. I just beat last year's Xenoblade X. I loved it. I thought that game was great. You saw ARMS, which looks like Wii boxing.
Looks pretty dope.
A bit better.
I'm ready for some I'm ready for some more Wii boxing without a fucking cord in between. Like, give it to me.
I will not pay any more than $20 for that game. They are high as a kite if they're going to ask for like full price for that game. Because that honestly looks like one of those games you bring to like a party. Everyone gets a little drunk. You play it for like an hour or two, and then you put it away and you never touch it again. In my opinion, it seems like one of the. It seems like 1-2 Switch. It seems like it should have been a pack-in game or something like that. The new Sonic game is coming out, Sonic Mania, which was honestly made by people that were modders of Sonic games, and they finally get to make a game. Minecraft, of course. Well, that conversation we had a couple weeks ago, where we were discussing if Skyrim was actually coming to the game, is coming.
Fucking told you.
You know what? There it is. It doesn't have a release date, sometime in 2017, but there it is. Skyrim on the Switch. I've got nothing else to say about that particular game. I don't know. I guess that's exciting for everyone that hasn't played Skyrim yet. It's a good game. I liked it.
Hey, now you got Skyrim on the go.
EA came out and said we're going to put FIFA on Switch. So I'm kind of squirrely about that because this is the third time EA has come out and said they would support a Nintendo console, and they always abandon ship 6 months to 8 months in for the Nintendo console. So we'll see how far that goes. And for us fighting game fans out there, there's a new Ultra Street Fighter 2, the new Challengers. It uses HD graphics for Street Fighter 2. It looks great. It introduces Violent Ken. Violent fucking Ken is back. He's like evil
2016 Ken. I see. Okay.
It looks cool, but I heard somewhere that the price for it will be like $40, and that would make me not buy it at all. That is insane for a fucking 30-year-old game. And Steep, that Ubisoft snowboarding game? Anyways, Dragon Ball Z Xenoverse. I think Mike mentioned. What was that called?
No More Heroes.
No More Heroes. Puyo Puyo Tetris. That's
yes.
Right.
Yes.
Tetris.
I don't know what to think about that. I have. Oh, and me and Mike got a little excited because we thought we saw F-Zero. No, it's called Fast RMX. I don't
Someday.
know what the RMX stands for. Something one day. It's like they are adverse to putting Captain Falcon back inside of a vehicle.
Someday I can dream of a world with F-Zero. Please, goddammit.
Can you imagine F-Zero on the Switch in 1080p at 60 frames per second? on the go. Oh,
Now that's the dream. Oh, so you mean carrying a GameCube
That-
with you, because that thing was like 60 frames per second on the GameCube. Oh, actually you mean the Switch. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, wow, that would
1080p was the
Guys.
keywords.
Guys,
it
I
was
have bad
it was
news.
was it HD? I
They're-
don't think it was. It was like
They're not
480.
going to make another F-Zero game.
No. How do you know?
I mean, why not?
They're just not gonna.
It'll be.
Okay. I want to see what if the Switch is going to be gimmicky, because it looks like some of the games are gimmicky. How would they make a gimmicky Metroid on Switch?
That's a good question.
Also, another question I would like to see: how would they integrate? It is touchscreen. How would they use the touchscreen on that? Because
I think, because I
go
think
ahead.
that I think mostly we're not. Unless it's a really special case, I don't imagine we'll see too much, I guess, investment from the developer side in terms of the touchscreen, just because you have to assume it's being played with a Pro controller or docked.
exactly.
So
Here's the thing. That touchscreen is there more for the mobile developers who come over who want to continue to have some of that functionality there.
And just for like the OS when it's undocked.
Yeah, and I do believe you can use one of the Joy-Cons with the camera in it as a pointing device for when it's on the TV. So it will technically have the functionality both docked and mobile. Now, some of those it may be fine to do either way. Some of those, obviously like your Mario Makers, you're just gonna want to play that on the hand. You're like undocked with the touchscreen and like in your hand and up close. But I think that's kind of how that goes.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see how that gets matched up, but the problem with the Wii U was a lot of games were forced with touch controls and motion controls that didn't enhance the gaming experience. I'm looking right at you, Star Fox Zero. You know what the fuck
And
you
I
did.
think that's why they're not talking about it. It's one of those. It's here. We're not making a big deal out of it though, because we're not saying it's necessary or it's forced. It's just there. It's something that's available for the developers who want to use it to use, and that's it.
Yeah, it definitely seems like less of like a major feature of the console, which is like more of just like
Right.
hey, here you can just instead of just tap options instead of
Here's the touchscreen, because it would have literally been crazy for us to not have it, because we would have never been able to make another Mario Maker game, and then other people can use it too.
If they want to make another Mario Maker game.
They want to
I mean,
make
I
another
imagine
Mario
they
Maker
would.
game.
I mean, that game sold like gangbusters, and it's a very innovative title.
Some
so I
might say
can't
the
imagine
best
why
game of
not.
2015.
don't
You didn't.
Excuse me. Yes, I did.
I edited that podcast. No, you didn't.
yeah, he did. Yes,
I
he
did.
did.
I will go back to the 2015.
And-
Mike said it
And
was.
You will unfortunately be proven. You'll be proven wrong. As
Yeah.
incorrect as Josh
You
is
know,
about
I take
this,
it back.
you are not correct.
You know what? I take it back. Josh probably did mention it at least once. He probably in his honorable mentions. Oh,
Oh, okay.
I remember
we
you
can
both
check the
mentioned
tape
Under
and
Game
go
of
back
2015.
and go back here. But we are.
we can. That's what the internet is for.
But we are coming up here about the end of our podcast here, guys. So I guess
Yeah.
parting
Final
shots.
thoughts.
I think like for me, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm excited. At the end of the day, I think this will be the console that gets me back into Nintendo. I think there are some decisions that they made or are making that are still wild, and that is a greater conversation about Nintendo coming really, really close to being fucking excellent and then doing something really stupid or just mildly inconveniencing to like not capitalize on this really excellent position that they're in. But I still think this is going to be a successful console. I think it's going to be pretty fun. I like the features. I like the look of it. I'm pretty excited about it overall. So,
And I kind of right there with you. I think there's definitely a couple things that maybe go like kind of scrunch. But I think with
God damn it, Nintendo! Why are you doing
exactly
that?
like things like Zelda looks
Yeah.
cool. I'm a big sucker for some Mario platforming, and so just I know the goodness of for those first
Maybe
party
I'll finally play a 3D Mario.
of first party titles that come through, and I think again, like I've been saying, it's like, as someone who's okay with this really just being a kind of supplementary in terms of like how I play games and compare it, like I spend most of my time on my PC and my PS4 for most of my games, but having this thing to like take on the plane as like something to do or for like longer trips or something like that, I think it's something personally I think we'll get a lot of we might get a lot of enjoyment and use out of, and I think could be pretty cool. So again, we'll have to see how the library fills out and just some of the. I'd really like to get my hands on it just so I can feel it, just how it holds and how it feels. But yeah. I'm definitely interested, and I don't think it's going to be DOA, but it'll be an interesting first couple of months for the Switch.
And I want to say one more thing real quick before I let Ray have the floor too. On the battery life, I have no problem with it. I'm sure it'll be fine. I also never go anywhere without an external battery, so I'm really not worried about it. So
the fact that you're mentioning that I should have to think about purchasing an external battery for a goddamn portable console.
You'd purchase one for your phone. Why the fuck wouldn't you purchase one for a console?
I have not purchased one for my phone.
Well, you're a fool.
Because it's a long battery life.
But if you're actually gaming or using it really heavily while you're on the go, it's not as long as you think. So why not just have an extra battery with you? They're like $20 and they're great. But anyway,
you are doing your best to sell me, to make me cancel my pre-order.
No, I'm doing my best to actually get you to fucking buy an external battery because they're great to have. And you can use them for so many things. They make you really popular when people are losing, Anyway, well, I'll talk to you about meeting people later.
So, being the one here that's actually put his money where his mouth is when it comes to this, fuck you, Josh.
I got a kid. Fuck off.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. You have a lot of other expenses.
And with that, why don't we give it a wrap, guys? Josh, where can people find us?
They can find us lots of places right here on the YouTube by hitting the subscribe button. They can go to facebook.com/unscriptedgaming, giving us a like. You can find us at Twitter at unscript_gaming. You can find us where most of your finer podcasts are sold, on iTunes, on Stitcher, on Google Play Podcasts, on Pocket Casts, and SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/unscripted-gaming.
Wait, I never gave my final thought.
What is...
All I was really going to say is I'm cautiously optimistic but critical. But I'm still going to buy it day one just to have a Nintendo console.
That sounds fair. That's kind of where I am too. All right.
We did it.
Good show, fellas. Well, hey, we'll be back sometime in the future and keep playing some games. Y'all, peace out.
Peace.